Welcome, everyone, to Ulti World's live coverage here from Sarasota, Florida of the 2017 USA Ultimate Club National Championships. Keith Rayner here, joined by Charlie Eisenhood for our wrap-up show from day one, Thursday. Pool plays complete. Charlie's shaking his head because this was a shocker of a day. And I'm not going to bury the lead for you folks. Number 2 overall seed in the men's division, Sockeye, goes 0-3 and is eliminated from title contention on day one. There's not a more shocking result than that, but there are plenty more behind it.
I mean, you got to start there, obviously. This has been a crazy day of pool play, particularly in the men's division. We got a lot to get to. I think all of the games have wrapped up at this point for the final round. We're going to start to be able.
There may still be a mixed game. Metro North was still in one, but I'm getting updates as fast as I can.
So we're keeping in touch with what's going on. If you want to ask us questions, hit us in the YouTube comments. We're going to keep in touch, and we'll be able to answer some of your questions as we go through here. But, yeah, Sockeye goes 0-3. Unbelievable. They opened their day with a loss to Florida United in a very chippy game. A ton of TMFs and PMFs. The observers were heavily involved in that one. Then they come out of that game. They go into a game against Pony, and you think they're going to rebound. They're going to be fine. And they lose to Pony on double game point. They had the disc to win, and like after a short swing turnover from Pony, gave it back, and then Pony won it. And then they go on to lose to Machine in the final round of the day. Machine, a team that beat them earlier at the Pro Championships during the season, if you recall. And so, really what we see a Sockeye team that came into the U.S. Open, looked like the best team in the country, beat Revolver, looked great, had the one loss to Ring, and then they kind of declined the rest of the way. But I don't think anybody, even if they were to go out in semis, you'd think, okay, I mean, that makes sense. But to go 0-3 and completely miss the bracket is just unbelievable.
Yeah, I think that this is going to be a hard one for these guys to deal with. I mean, I think that emotionally challenging, difficult way to end the season for them. And I think if I understand this correctly, and I will say I could be wrong on this, but I believe Dylan Freechild told one of our reporters that he had never won a pool play game at Nationals coming into this weekend. So that streak has continued. The guy who was the frontrunner for Player of the Year, one of the best players in the men's division for years now, finally leaves his hometown team where he had struggled to really advance to find a place where he could, joins Sockeye, and 0-3 bombs out of the bracket.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, let's get to some other stuff, too.
That is not the only wild result here. I mean, we could take a look at the men's division where...
I mean, that's really where we have a lot of the craziest...
really crazy.
The craziest stuff. So, first of all, some fairly straightforward things. Revolver goes 3-0. Pretty much take care of business. It wasn't totally smooth sailing. It's been a little windy here today. If you watched the games, the live broadcast today, you saw that the wind was definitely a factor. That kept a lot of games close. Ironside went 3-0. They beat Ring of Fire. I don't really see that as an upset, personally. I think it
was a popular upset pick.
It's what I expected to see in that game, but they do, they were the Pool 2 seed. They come out on top in Pool C. But then, so, we mentioned Florida United. Well, they go 3-0. They win the pool. They won pretty handily over all of the teams that they played. They did well against Pony. They did very well against Machine. They blew out Sockeye to start the day. And then over in Pool D, you've got a three-way tie. So it goes to point differential because Dig beat Truck Stop to open the day and then lost to Bravo. But then Truck Stop beat Bravo. However, the point diff was tied because Truck Stop had to win by 3 at least. They did exactly that. So the point diff was tied between Truck Stop and Dig. You go to the next point, tiebreaker, which is, I believe, points scored against the other opponent in the pool. That was the same. It was 2 against Condors. So you go to the next, which is head-to-head, and that means that Dig is going to win the pool, as far as we know. We do not have official confirmation on that from USA Ultimate yet, but we will check on that. But we believe that Dig has won the pool, so they will get the bye to quarterfinals. That means Truck Stop finishes second, Bravo finishes third, and Condors, who were an excellent 4 seed as we expected, but they end up going 0-3 and not making the bracket.
And if you watched our game or read any of the coverage about Bravo and Dig, Bravo up I think 5. I think it was 13-8 late in that game. Could have put it away. Came out lazy and sloppy to end that game. Dig didn't quit. Fought back to within 1 and lost in the hard cap. They scored and the hard cap went off right when it was 1. And they were pretty. They scored to bring it within 2. Hard cap goes off. While they're on the line, Dig is pretty upset knowing that they have a chance to come back. They play the last point. They score and lose 14-13. And we said at the time, these points could matter with Dig's early win over Truck Stop. And boy, did it come back to haunt Bravo, who now finishes 3rd in the pool while Dig wins the pool. That could have been Bravo if they had just closed the door there. And I think just took their eye off the ball, so to speak.
Yeah, and, Dig, I think if there were 5 more minutes in that game, Dig was going to win it. I mean, they were playing that well. They closed the game on an upwind break, but they lost in hard cap. I believe it was 14-13. But, if they have 1 more point in that game before cap goes on, they would have had a downwind point on defense. If they score that, it's double game point, and all of the momentum was in their favor. So in some ways it feels right that they won the pool, but there's no doubt that Bravo had the chance to close it out. So we are going to take a look here at the rest of the bracket. And one of the things, so it looks like we may, in fact, be wrong. We're going to have to double check, like we said, on this Truck Stop Dig tiebreaker scenario. It actually is going to depend a lot on what the tiebreaker chain is.
The order is, yeah.
So right now on USA Ultimate, Truck Stop is at the top of the pool. Regardless, Bravo is going to be the 3 seed. And it's just a question of whether Dig or Truck Stop wins. Again, they're tied on point diff. So you look at some of these pre-quarters matchups. First of all, Bravo double-wide playing in a pre-quarter that plays into the Florida United quarterfinal. It means that Florida United, may end up seeing Bravo. That's a rematch, of course, of the South Central Regional final in that pre-quarter. Bravo probably going to be the favorite in both of those games and may have a fairly nice path to semis.
I don't know if I agree about the nice path part. Florida is clearly playing very well. They're a tough, difficult team to go against, and Bravo did not, at any point today that I saw them, look very efficient. And that means that I don't think they're going to blow double wide out, and that extra mileage on the legs, especially of a team that really runs through a couple of guys on offense, I think Bravo could be in a tough spot going into that game. Do I think that they're the favorite? Yeah, probably, but I think it's by less than people would think. And I think Florida United's proved they've had some chops. It's not the only regional matchup in quarterfinals right now either. You get Pony and Goat, the Northeast matchup, 2 teams that know each other very well. Pony obviously playing pretty well today, and Goat a little rocky. But, I mean, you were there to watch them play at regionals. You've seen these teams over the years. You know them pretty well. Who do you think's the favorite in that matchup?
Look, I think I still like Goat. Pony's played well today. There's no doubt about that. But I think that, there's always that familiarity factor that goes into those regionals games. And why should we think that a result from 3 weeks ago shouldn't hold today? Goat played pretty well today, too. They were no pushover. And I think that really, when it comes down to it, Goat won handily at regionals. I expect to see them win that again. But then again, it's windy. That's been an equalizer today. And I don't think that it's out of the question that Pony could win. But I do think that Goat is ostensibly maybe a 2-point favorite.
And you get Ring Machine, the Nationals rivalry, so to speak. I mean, what's the phrase? Was it Machine can never beat Ring, right? That's what the trend used to be.
For a long, long time, they couldn't.
Until last year.
That's right. So quickly, Twitter is saying that USA Ultimate's score reporter page is wrong and that Dig has, in fact, won the pool. Again, we don't have the tiebreakers directly in front of us right now, but we believe, as we said at the start, that Dig has won the pool. So I'm taking a look at the comments here on YouTube. So if you have a question for us, feel free to comment right there in the live chat on YouTube, and we'll try to answer some of the questions as we get through this. Okay, so let's see. Let's just answer this one. This is a great one. Which of Revolver, Ring, Ironside, or Bravo are you least confident in making semis?
Revolver, Ring, Ironside, Bravo?
Yep.
Bravo.
I agree, although I want to look at the bracket. Can you pull up that bracket again? Because I'm wondering who plays. Is there a chance we're going to see Ring playing like Revolver in quarters?
No.
It will be Ring if they win their pre-quarter. Ring will play Truck Stop in the quarterfinals.
And I think that's a matchup where they hold an edge. I think that's a good matchup for them.
I agree. Ironside, I really like to get to semis. Revolver, I really like to get to semis. And I don't know. Honestly, I think Ring is the least likely only because I think Truck Stop's a tougher matchup than Florida is going to be for Bravo.
I also think Machine might be is one of the best teams in any pre-quarters round. So I think that they also have Drew a tougher pre-quarter. So that even if that doesn't mean they might lose that game, it definitely means that it could have an impact.
Somebody's asking who's winning #the game after day one. Well, we're going to have to figure that out.
We're going to have to go home and do some calculating, but I promise I know that one of the most popular results was to pick Metro North. That's not working out for you. They go 0-3 in pool play. We're about to cover the mixed division, I think, a little bit. So if you have Metro North stock, you might be in trouble. If you're like me and got Florida United stock, you're probably looking pretty good.
Somebody asked, when did Mark Lloyd move to Bravo? That was about 3 weeks ago. He signed on with the team. It was a very clever tweet from Bravo that announced it. And he has played with them this postseason. He played with them at regionals, and he played with them today. We'll see what they can do tomorrow in pre-quarters. Now, George Brell, who's definitely a trustworthy source, says that according to the USAU score manual, the tiebreaker should go to Dig. So I'm pretty confident in saying that Dig has won the pool and will have the bye into quarters. Okay, so let's see. We've talked a lot about the men's division. Why don't we talk a little bit about the mixed division? Also some pretty crazy results here. Just quickly right off the top, your pool winners. Mixtape, Amp, Dragon Thrust, and Slow White. All right? So not shocking, but there's a lot of craziness underneath.
So those four teams held seed, but basically all of them played in either contested games or, in Dragon Thrust case, lost a game and then won on a very close tiebreaker, including their last round games coming down to the wire with Wildcard. So we'll start in Pool A, though. Mixtape goes 3-0, number one overall seed. They were dominant at points today. They beat Public Enemy by 1 or 2. I think it was it's double game point, so they barely beat Public Enemy. Public Enemy finishes second with wins over Mischief and Noise and a very close loss to Mixtape. So I think you have to consider Public Enemy a threatening team in the pre-quarters round as they move into that round. Mischief survives. They get over Noise and make it into the pre-quarter round. Pool B, Amp finishes first. They barely beat Metro North. They beat Metro North by 1. Their best win was over Blackbird at the end of the day, and that kept them in first place. Blackbird finishes second, 2-1. Toro beats Metro North in a super close last round game, eliminates last year's semifinalists, and sends a first year's nationals team to your pre-quarters in Toro. So looking at Pool C, this is where things got a little bit hectic because to start the day off, Shame beats Dragon Thrust 15-13. That started the dominoes falling. Wildcard, double game point win over Love Tractor. Dragon Thrust, double game point win over Love Tractor. Wildcard, double game point win over Shame. Dragon Thrust beats Wildcard by 3. Shame, double game point win over Love Tractor. Almost every game in this pool was decided by a single point.
That's crazy.
That is wild. And that makes the point diff even more crazy.
Now, yeah, people are saying in the comments right now that we have a very similar situation with Dragon Thrust and Shame. It does look like they both ended up it was a 3-way tie with Wildcard at 2-1. Dragon Thrust and Shame were both +2 in their point differential. What were their scores against Love Tractor?
Love Tractor, Shame beat them by 1, and so did Dragon Thrust. So
all right,
tie
so
there.
I think we
so it goes
end
to
up
head-to-head
with
Shame should win the pool.
I think Shame should win the pool.
So it's the same situation.
I think that USAU score reporter, again, is wrong in this case. I think
Wow.
Shame has won the pool.
Wow.
And so Dragon Thrust is second and will play in pre-quarters with Wildcard taking the final pre-quarter spot.
I guess shame on us.
Shame. I mean, they are a very talented, athletic team. I think this kind of
You were very high on them coming into this tournament.
These conditions
wasn't
are
buying.
good for them because they are athletic and they can just throw jump balls and win them in the air. Let's see what else we got going on here. Some folks asking about Manuela Cardenas. Honestly, I can't say that I know. I did not get a chance to watch Molly Brown today. We will have lots of reporting about that later today. If you haven't been reading our live blog, definitely check it out because our reporters on the ground have been covering what's going on. Daniel Prentice doing a great job on Pool D covering what's going on there. I believe the word that I have been seeing is that their offense has looked really, really good, and their defense has been a little suspect. I don't know if that has anything to do with Manuela Cardenas. I would say no, but we will await more to hear from our reporters.
The last I heard from our reporters was pretty surprising, which was that Cardenas was handling on the D-line. Which, Valeria, her sister, is typically the one who's doing the throwing, and Manuel is usually downfield. But
right.
They must have seen an opportunity to integrate her into the offense through that role. So definitely pay attention to the reporting. We'll get more detail for you. We're kind of a high-level view at this point in the wrap-up show.
Somebody asked about what pre-quarter will be streamed tomorrow. Well, I can tell you that if you are an Ultiworld full or plus subscriber, you will have a chance to vote. We're going to put that up very soon. It's actually going to have to be decided fairly quickly because USA Ultimate needs to make field assignments. So we will put that out, and there will be more information on our social media and on the website about how to vote. So you will be able to decide what we stream tomorrow morning during pre-quarters.
Let's talk through these mixed pre-quarters so that people know what our options are. We said so the pool winners: Mixtape, Slow White, Shame, not as it says on USAU, and Amp. So that means we get Blackbird Wildcard with the winner going on to face Mixtape. We get Toro and Dragon Thrust, so the winner going on to play Slow White. That could be that Dragon Thrust Slow White pre-quarter, our quarterfinal that I picked.
That's true.
We get BFG against Mischief with the winner going on to play Shame, and Steamboat Public Enemy with the winner going on to play Amp. So are there any of those that jump out to you as the most intriguing?
Well, I think before today I might have said BFG Mischief was pretty intriguing, but I was not convinced by Mischief's play today. I think BFG is a pretty heavy favorite there. I think Toro and Shame is actually quite an interesting matchup. Toro has a couple of very athletic male players, and they may match up well with Shame's big athletes. We will see. I think that is just an interesting matchup from kind of a stylistic perspective. Blackbird Wildcard, I think, is probably the best overall matchup.
That's the one I would pick. Blackbird Wildcard, I think, is the standout matchup. But the pre-quarters in mixed, I think, right now I'd say the favorites are going to be heavy favorites for the most part. But, man, we've got some extremely enticing quarterfinals.
I got to say, I really, really like Slow White's path. They could play Dragon Thrust. I was saying Toro and Shame. That's what it says on Scoreporter, but that's not right. It's Toro and Dragon Thrust. I think that's Dragon Thrust a fairly decisive advantage in that game. But, Dragon Thrust Slow White, that'll be an interesting game. But if Slow White can get through them, they'll play Mixtape most likely in the semifinals. And that's a matchup that I really like Slow White in. Talked about that on this week's Deep Look.
All right. So why don't we bounce over to the women's division? You want to take a couple questions or?
Let's see what we got here. Well, someone asked us to rank the performance of the top four teams in the women's division, which we're about to get to right now as we go through this women's division. And the big four did go undefeated today, but some teams I think did look better than others. You have Riot, Brute Squad, Molly Brown, and Fury going 3-0. If you watched our last live stream game, you saw Fury absolutely dismantle the next best team in the country, and that's Scandal. They crushed them. I mean, that game was not competitive. And I have to say, I was very impressed with Fury, particularly, and, this, you cannot underrate the value of this in the conditions here in Sarasota. Alex Snyder's backhand break throws were on point today. She was throwing very effectively both up and downwind, and that's something that I think is going to be huge for them. I mean, they looked super comfortable going upwind in a way that you didn't see from every team here.
And when's the last time we saw them apply defensive pressure like that? I would have thought that was Brute Squad's D-line from last year out there because they
had the clamps
smothering.
Yeah.
But, I mean, honestly, the one seeds were all very dominant.
Hard to learn a lot from today.
The closest game, I think the closest of any score was 5. Molly Brown beat Schwab by 5. Every other game that every 1 seed won was by 6, 7, 8 points, 10 points in some cases. The most Fury gave up was 7. I think the same for Brute Squad. Brute Squad was dominant from start to finish. Riot ends up with a lot of big scores. They were the only caveat against Riot was that they were down like 5-3 to Underground before giving up 1 goal for the rest of the game.
I make nothing.
But
of that.
that's fairly minor nit to pick. They were the 1 seeds really crushed across the board. I would say to me the most impressive might have been Brute Squad, but Fury was definitely Fury gives them a run for their money. But man, fireworks were setting up for it.
I mean, there weren't too many upsets today in the women's division. Schwa beat Heist. That's not something that I expected to see. I thought Heist was going to have a chance to
I think there was a lot
go to quarterfinals.
We both picked Heist to finish second in that pool, and that did not come to fruition.
They went 0-3. You saw Rival and Pop play a close game, but Rival ended up going 0-3. They were at the bottom of that pool to start. And then I guess the big result is Underground coming out second in that Pool A. They won a point diff battle with Sixers and Showdown. They were all 1-2.
Mostly by virtue of blowing out Showdown by 6 in the last round of the day.
Right.
And Showdown, of course, by virtue of that also was eliminated. So
tough for Showdown. You know, they win the South Central. They get the huge upset over Molly Brown. And they come in here. They have a win in hand going into that game. And then they just get blown away. And that kind of did them in.
So let's take a look at the women's bracket and how it shapes up. Again, your high expected winners of the pools: Riot, Fury, Molly Brown, and Brute Squad. So we have Ozone Schwa, rematch of pre-quarters from last year. The winner will go on to face Riot. You have Pop and Traffic. I don't think anybody was picking that one. The winner will go on to face Fury. I think Traffic will be the heavy favorite in that Pop in their first return to Nationals. Scandal against Sixers. I think Scandal will be the big favorite. They will go on to play Molly Brown should they win, who they have lost to in quarterfinals for 2 consecutive years. Nightlock and Underground. I think those teams have had some good games against each other this year, so that could be a pretty good one. The winner will go on to face Brute Squad. So, Charlie, any of those quarterfinals jump out to you?
You know, the one that stands out to me is Scandal Sixers. And the reason is that Scandal really did not look very good today. I think Sixers has the potential to push them in that game. You know, there's quite a quality gap between, you know, Fury and Sixers. So seeing Scandal play poorly against Fury does not necessarily mean much about how they'll look against the Sixers. But I just think that that's the most sort of interesting game. I mean, Nightlock Underground is probably the closest match, the one that you feel like could go either way. But I do think there's some intrigue in the possibility of Sixers getting a big upset there, given that Scandal just did not really look like they were dialed in at all. I mean, we saw pretty rough performances from most of their big stars.
Yeah, it's hard for me to imagine that those players are going to turn in multiple games of that that low caliber.
That's true.
I think Ozone Schwa holds a lot of intrigue. Schwa impressed me today. They certainly outperformed what I expected from them, not just on the wins-losses, but the way they were delivering on the field. They looked a lot more comfortable in the win than I expected, and I think that they could push Ozone. Historically, those two teams have played pretty close matchups, but I do agree that Nightlock Underground is going to be the smallest gap as far as, you know, what your line would be for that game. I mean, that one's probably like -1.5, right?
Dom Knight just realized that Sockeye got knocked out, and that is true. I'm sorry to tell you that, Dom. Sockeye went 0-3 today. That we opened up the show with. Just another reminder of what a crazy day it was. A team that looked like they had their best chance to win a national championship in quite a long time, that beat Revolver soundly in the finals of the U.S. Open, comes here and goes 0-3, losing to Florida United, Pony, and Machine. Not exactly a murderer's row of teams. Crazy.
I had Sockeye in the final. That was my prediction. I had Sockeye in the final. Obviously, that is not going to be the case.
I think I also picked Sockeye to go to the final.
You look at that roster on paper, and just there's no way to categorize this other than as a disappointment.
Look, let's be honest. Nobody was picking Sockeye to go 0-3 and miss the bracket. Nobody. I mean, if you picked it, you'll have to send me, you know, notarized proof that you signed and sealed it in an envelope at least 2 days ago. All right, let's see. What else we got here? So, look, honestly, you know, you look at these women's matchups, I think that there's very little chance we're going to see anything other than the Big Four in the semis yet again.
Yeah, I think the odds of that are extremely low.
Yeah.
But, you know, Obviously, we've been seeing some surprises here in Sarasota day one, so it's certainly not beyond the pale for it to happen again. I do want to say I think I'm going to try and see what we can scrape together to get you the game updates today. And maybe if Big Chuck here lets me, we can do like a game update podcast. That way I can give you some updates on what teams are delivering and see if I have like some leaders at the top of the scoreboard. And
I'm
maybe
feeling pretty good, I have to
House.
say. I'm a little disappointed. Blackbird lost in the last round to Amp. My picks for the game were Blackbird, Ironside went 3-0, Public Enemy, who I'm very happy getting 2 wins from out of the 13 seed, and Riot, who went 3-0. So I feel okay. Maybe wish that I'd picked Slow White instead of Blackbird, but we'll see. There's more games to come.
I have Public Enemy. I have Ironside, Ring of Fire, and Riot. So I took 2 losses on the day, so I think I'm going to be pretty high on the scoreboard.
Let's see. Any other quick questions? Somebody wants a hot take. I don't know if I have a great hot take right now. I think my hot take is that we're not done with surprises. I think that a lot of the games tomorrow, particularly in the men's division, are going to be competitive. Even the ones that you might think that aren't on paper. I do believe that the conditions here, which are both sort of offensively friendly in the fact that it's warm and the fields are very flat and it's kind of track meet running conditions. It's not slog at all. Combined with the fact that you have wind, which makes it difficult to get breaks, means that you have lots of close games that can swing very, very suddenly. And that means that, where a team might normally have a 10% edge on any given point, now only has a 3% edge of getting a break, let's say. That means that there's more variance. And I think that's one of the things we saw today amongst the divisions where there's a little bit more parity, mixed and men's. I think we're going to see more crazy stuff. I don't know if that's a hot take, but
I think that I coming into this weekend, I would have said that Bravo isn't really dependent on their stars, especially when guys like Ben Laurie are playing so well. He is playing the best of anyone on Bravo. He's playing better than Mickle, I think, and that team's going to ride or die on how Mickle plays. And this is the worst I think I've seen him play in maybe 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Obviously that still makes him one of the best 15 guys in the division, but if he doesn't execute at a higher level, I think they are not going to get through quarterfinals.
I think that's true as well. Jimmy Mickle has had a down season relative to his performances in the past at Nationals. I think one of the things about Mickle is that he tends to show up to this tournament and dominate. Last year was a great example of that. They were a team that was going through a lot of turnover. They were not expected to really do that much. Maybe quarterfinals would have been a win. And then they went all the way to semis and were competitive in that game because Mickle was just electric. He's not played that well this year. And so you're absolutely right. The thing is, I think it's possible that he could show up and dominate tomorrow. I think it's possible.
I just want to know I think we're coming in to wrap up. If I'm not mistaken on Twitter, I'm pretty sure the UConn women's basketball team just sent Brute Squad a good luck video. That's one of the coolest things ever.
We're going to have to check that out. We will tweet that out or put it out on the site if that is in fact the case. I see what you're looking at there. Quick question.
Wow.
Okay, so people still asking about Truck and Dig and Sockeye. So let's come back to that really quickly. Somebody asked, why did Sockeye lose? They did not play well. I mean, I'm sorry. There's that. They came
had
out,
opportunities.
They came out
kept
and probably thought that they were just going to come out and win today without a lot of pressure. And they played against a Florida team that was not going to have any of that and punched them in the mouth and played physical. They got a lot of TMFs. They called some chippy travels. I mean, they played Florida Ultimate. And, people are going to say, I think there's some Florida apologists who like to say that, there's like a bias against Florida. No, look, there's a real thing going on there. And I'm definitely looking forward to hearing more about this game, but it's not random chance that Florida United games continuously end up really chippy. Like, that's not happening at random. Anyway, the fact is that was probably a great strategic choice for Florida to come into that game and to go up against this Sockeye team that thought they were going to just waltz through this game and make it into a slugfest. And Sockeye never caught up. That was it.
I also think Sockeye, like, especially who do you guard Misha and Jeremy Langdon with? And then
they
you
didn't
also
have
have
an
to
answer.
deal with Fairley. Like, Fairley's like the third or fourth big guy on the team. Like, it's hard. No Raider means you're short, you're big stopper. So it's Nick Stewart out there.
Raider was playing.
Okay, no
Raider
full
was playing.
strength Raider.
Nick Stewart, unfortunately, is no longer on the
yeah,
team.
yeah.
Nick Stewart plays for Revolver now. Hussein Carnegie got
Carnegie,
that matchup
yeah.
a lot, but really he's given up 7-8 inches to Misha Freistadter. Hussein Carnegie's a great athlete, but he can't jump that high. Misha's unbelievable. Like, people don't necessarily know much about Florida United because they don't typically, get onto the stream games. Maybe we're going to stream them tomorrow. It's very possible people are going to want to see them play.
Misha's better than people think. He's more than just tall. He's a real load to guard. Like, he knows what to do to use his size, and I think he's going to be one of the tougher matchups for anybody at this tournament right now.
Okay, somebody asked, why did Truck win the pool instead of Dig? They did not. Dig won the pool. It's a mistake on Score Reporter. It will be fixed. We went through the tiebreaker situation earlier. It's kind of complicated. You get to go 4 tiebreakers down.
They were tied in every tiebreaker.
It was head-to-head, like who
Dig
won the game.
Beat Truck's out.
So. Let's see. What else we got? Someone mentions that they love the ladder behind us here. Yes, it is nice.
Without it, we couldn't bring you the beautiful broadcast we do of the game.
Our great lead camera guy, Aiden, is up in the crow's nest. Not right now, but during the games today. And we'll be there tomorrow as we bring you pre-quarters. Again, if you're an Ultiworld Fuller Plus subscriber, you're going to have a chance to vote on what pre-quarter we stream tomorrow. If you want to be involved in that vote, you can go to ultiworld.com/subscribe and subscribe. We certainly appreciate the support. It helps us bring you what we do here. We have 16 people. That's a record for us at this year's Nationals, and we need to wrap up soon because we got to get back to the house and get to work.
Get to eating and get to work.
As a couple of our video guys out behind us here are ready for us to get moving. Let's see.
We do it for you.
Okay, this is a great question. We'll end with this. This is a great question. Who are your picks for the men's final now that Sockeye's out? Since we both had Sockeye playing Revolver, I can tell you that I still have Revolver, and I need to look at the other side of the bracket. I think that's the first thing that I need to see. So that side of the bracket,
by the way,
that side of the bracket is Ironside and Florida as your pool winners, and then Truck Stop, High Five, and Bravo Double Wide as your pre-quarters. So I guess the top teams on that side of the bracket are Ironside, Truck, Bravo, and Florida. Look, I think Ironside is the heavy favorite to make it to that side, and we may have a rematch of last year's national final.
Yeah, I can't disagree. I mean, the curve factor is so strong, but
and
Peter Pyle, Cricket, Mac Hecht, Christian Foster, Jack Hatchett, like Ironside is no joke.
Ironside's going to get the winner of Truck High Five. Look, Truck's a great team, but without Alan Kolick, without some other pieces, I just don't see them beating Ironside. I don't see it. They don't have quite the depth that they're going to need to take down that Ironside team. But you know what? I think that's going to be a closer game than people think.
I mean, I'm looking forward to tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to figure out what we're going to watch.
High Five could definitely beat Truck. We got a lot of great stuff. So more to come. We're going to have lots more discussion of what happened today in our recap shows. We've got some highlights coming your way. But that is going to do it for us here today. Keith, fantastic job on play-by-play today.
Thank you, sir.
I got to enjoy listening to the broadcast today instead of being on them. So hope you're all having a great time watching all of this unfold here at this crazy national championships. Signing off for Keith Rayner, I'm Charlie Eisenhood. We'll talk to you tomorrow.